Hello. So this is day 3 of me working from home. And what I wanted to share with you today was actually something that I've been doing outside of my working hours. I want to make that clear. I've been doing this outside of my working hours. I have not been doing this while I've been working. We're all getting to a situation now where outside of work and school and things like that, we're going to have to try and keep ourselves occupied somehow. Now, what I usually tend to do is, well, actually, I'm a big gamer. I tend to sit on my PC gaming quite a lot. But I have a dual screen setup. I'm quite lucky in that respect. And what I like to do is have my game on one screen and I like to have something to watch on the other screen. When I'm not gaming, I do stream quite a lot of movies, quite a lot of TV shows. So today I'm going to share with you some of the films that I've been streaming or watching recently. And then on Monday, because I am doing this after I finish work every day, I'm going to share with you some of the TV shows that I've been watching. You might be able to actually guess what one of those might be. There's a bit of a spoiler alert. But anyway, if you did recognise that. So, some of the films that I've been streaming, I tend to use a variety of different things. We've got a Netflix account, we've got an Amazon Prime account. So I just find stuff, just kind of have it on in the background a lot of the time. I'm one of these people that needs to have noise on in the background or I can't seem to concentrate on life. So what have I been up to? Well, one of my favourite things is there are two favourite genres of mine, really. One is horror films, and actually, I'm in the process of sort of outside of my working hours at lunchtimes and stuff like that, typing up a blog that I meant to do probably about 2 or 3 months ago, and then everything hit the fan and it just didn't happen. And that's all about my favourite horror movies, horror TV shows, novels, all sorts of stuff like that. That will be coming out as a sort of separate thing. So, kind of what I've actually been watching a lot of, because I don't know about you, I find it incredibly depressing every day, putting on the TV, seeing the same depressing news every single day, and it feels quite hopeless. It feels quite sad. So I think in these trying times, we need some fun in our lives. We need some comedy, and there's nothing wrong with just watching the trashiest comedy films you can possibly find. Not all of them are trashy. Actually, some of the things I'm about to mention, they're cult classics. But here are some of my recommendations for things that I've been watching fairly recently, although one of them counts under the horror genre, but I've been finding it absolutely hilarious. So my first recommendation would be the film Hot Rod. This was made in, I think, 2007. And when you watch it, you think, oh my God, why wasn't Will Ferrell hired to play this role? Well, actually, he kind of almost was, and I think he produces it. It's actually The Lonely Island ended up doing it, and you might know, if you don't know The Lonely Island for their videos that they did as skits for Saturday Night Live, you probably would know Andy Samberg, at least from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Well, it's all three of them. One of them directs it and has a cameo appearance, and the other two play brothers. Andy Samberg plays the titular character of Hot Rod, and the premise behind it is that he thinks he's a stuntman and he wants to raise some money to save his stepfather's life so that he can beat him up. I know that sounds crazy, but it is one of the most painfully funny films I have ever seen in my life, and it's definitely worth a watch. It's an hour and a half. It's just brainless, amazing comedy fun. So I would definitely recommend Hot Rod if you want to laugh. Not for the faint-hearted, and definitely not for kids, this one, Grimsby. This is Sacha Baron Cohen at his best. Mark Strong plays his brother. It's everything you would expect from Sacha Baron Cohen. It's rude, it's crude, it's incredibly childish at times. There's a lot of social commentary in it, perhaps, like he always manages to work in. And also, it's a little bit topical because one of the things that they're trying to do is stop a virus from being spread around the world, a killer virus. And it was only when we were watching it the other night, me and my husband sort of sat there and turned to each other and went, oh my God, we'd totally forgotten that that was the premise of the film. So that's kind of topical. It kind of makes light of these things. Some of you might find that it helps if you've got a bit of a dark sense of humour like we do. So you might want to give that one a go. But like I said, definitely not for kids. Do not show that one to children. Do not show that one to half of adults, actually. Unless you've got a dark sense of humour, avoid it. But otherwise, it's a really good film. That's currently available to stream, I think, on Amazon. one of my favourite films, Million Ways to Die in the West. I love Seth MacFarlane. I still have a real soft spot for Family Guy. Some people say it's going a bit, yeah, and it's not as good necessarily as the original series, but I still love it. I love American Dad. I love the Ted films. I think that Ted 2 was unfairly criticised. Million Ways to Die in the West, the premise is that it's set in the Old West, and back then it was very easy to die of pretty much anything. And it is a comedy, and you can either watch the standard sort of couple of hour edition that came out in cinema, or we've got this on Blu-ray because we loved it so much. There's actually a kind of extended theatrical release as well, and it's just really, really funny. Seth MacFarlane stars in it, and his character is basically a complete wimp. He's really not made for life in the Old West at all. And he comes face to face with one of the most dangerous killers of the time, and has to deal with this, and basically just he struggles to deal with daily life. So how is he going to deal with this huge problem? And it is just a laugh a minute. It's absolutely brilliant, and it's got some great references in it, some fantastic cameos, a wonderful musical number, really surrealist bit in it as well. It's just great fun. I love that film so much. I watch it over and over again. It's my go-to film when I need to be cheered up. Withnail I. Now, this is a bit of a cult classic. It's funny. It's a snapshot of life at the end of the 1960s. It's a semi-autobiographical piece of work. Richard E. Grant plays the character of Withnail. It's absolutely fantastic. It's my favourite film when it's raining. It's a Sunday afternoon and it's raining and it's a little bit cold and dark, and you just sit there and you pour out a glass of red wine and you just stick Withnail I on, and for some reason everything feels better. Like the world is made right again. That is my absolute favourite thing to do. That is the moment that makes it for me. And it's one of the most quotable films of all time as well. I could probably just reel off the script off the top of my head. I won't, because I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's absolutely brilliant. There's some classic one-liners in it. Gone on holiday by mistake. I demand to have some booze. Those are probably the ones that I can say and still keep it a bit PG. But it is an absolutely brilliant film. It's something that I was introduced to when I was in my sort of mid-late teens. Absolutely love it. It's a favourite in my family. I will always go back to it again and again and again. Every time I want to feel better, I stick on Withnail I, and I can see whatever the weather it might be going on this weekend. Napoleon Dynamite, another cult classic. This was, I believe, one of the MTV films. It was made nearly 20 years ago now. Absolutely brilliant. You might have seen people wearing things like Vote for Pedro t-shirts. Well, this is where it comes from. And it's a little snapshot of life in the kind of Midwest. It follows this kid Napoleon and all the people that he interacts with, and it's just really nice. It's really innocent. There's no violence, there's no swearing. There doesn't need to be. It's how he interacts with his brother, his friends at school. It's just really lovely, and it's funny because it feels like real life, and real life can be funny. I know it doesn't feel like it at the moment, but real life can be funny. And it's just so sweet, and it's so lovely, and it's feel good. And by the end of the film, you really, really feel good. And just wait until you see LaFonda. She's one of my favourite characters of all time. She's amazing. So definitely check out Napoleon Dynamite. It's really innocent. Actually, it's fun for all the family. It's a great film. Absolutely fantastic film. Now we're getting on to the kind of horror genre. My husband absolutely loves the Final Destination films, and he's seen them a few times, but weirdly, and I don't know how, considering I love horror films, I'd never actually got around to watching the Final Destination films. We found out that they're all currently streaming on Amazon, so he sticks the first one on, and I watched it, and yes, I get the premise. Death is stalking them. It's all about the natural order of things. Now, spoiler alert, I love Supernatural. And actually, there's quite a few episodes in Supernatural where they deal with the natural order of things, how people were supposed to die and didn't die, and what the implications of this are, and what the outcomes are. And this is basically Final Destination. Fun fact, it is made by Warner's, the same as Supernatural. And despite what they say, pretending to be in various locations in America, it's actually all filmed in Vancouver, where Supernatural was filmed. So, yeah, to me, it was like an extended version of Supernatural, but without the Winchester brothers. And I was thinking, if the Winchester brothers were here, they'd have stopped death like 10 minutes ago, but never mind. It was so funny, and it really shouldn't have been funny, but it cheered me up no end. So I've only watched the first two of those, and we're kind of watching one every weekend at the moment, and they're all on Amazon Prime. So we will be working our way through those. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the next. I think there's another 3 to go or something like that. So I'm really looking forward to that. Sticking with a bit of a horror theme, there was a film that came out back in 2015, and it was one that I really, really wanted to go and see at the time. And for whatever reason, never got round to it. It's a mockumentary, and it's called What We Do in the Shadows. This is a film that is written by and co-starring Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords, the New Zealand band, and sort of comedy duo band, and Taika Waititi, who you may know more recently from directing things like Thor Ragnarok. Absolutely one of my favourite directors of all time. Now, going way, way back, Flight of the Conchords is something that I absolutely love. There was a film donkeys years ago that came out of New Zealand, and that was, I think, the first time that I sort of discovered Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi, and they've worked together quite a lot over the years. So how this one kind of skipped my radar, I'm not 100% sure, but I can only assume, because I know what was going on in my life in 2015, I can only assume I know why that happened. It's an amazing film. I watched it last night. Again, it's only about an hour and a half long. It's absolutely hilarious. It's set in Wellington in New Zealand, and the premise of this mockumentary is that there's a house full of vampires. They're all flat sharing, basically, and this camera crew follows them around as they try and deal with, I don't want to say daily life because they're the undead, but kind of daily life for a vampire, and how they deal with kind of modern pressures of trying to, how they manage to get hold of victims to drain the blood off and things like that. It's absolutely hilarious. Again, I don't know that I would show this to kids, but this is an absolutely hilarious film, and I really wish that I'd seen it before, because thinking back, I only watched it last night for the first time. Thinking back, it's so good. It's so good, and it's one that I'm going to be showing my husband because it's really, really funny, and I think he'll really, really enjoy it. Speaking of kind of mockumentary kind of ideas, sort of biographical movies, one that I watched that I really, really wanted to watch again when it came out in the cinema, and just one thing after another meant we didn't quite do it, and we wanted to watch it as a big group originally, was The Disaster Artist. Now, to watch The Disaster Artist, I would suggest that you watch the film The Room. The Room was made about 20 years ago now, and it is widely agreed that it is probably the worst film ever made. There's no defined plot. There are storylines that are set up and then they just don't go anywhere. The mother with breast cancer being one. You're not quite sure what the relationship is between a lot of the characters, how they've even ended up in this situation. And it was written by, directed by, starring, edited, produced, by the very mysterious Tommy Wiseau. Now, people don't really know how old he is, don't really know exactly where he's from, although his IMDb says that he was born in something like 1955 in Poland. He has got a very distinct, strong Eastern European accent, but he went around telling everybody that he was from Ohio or something. Can't really remember exactly where now, but something like that, but somewhere in America. Or like New Orleans or something like that, and that's why he's got an accent. And he's like, oh, I don't have an accent. You clearly have an accent. He made millions and millions of dollars, and nobody knew where any of this money was coming from, but it was like a bottomless pit of money. So nobody knows where he got all this money from, but he just turned up in America one day and was just like, I'm going to be an actor. No one will have me, so I'll write my own film and I'll star in it, and I'll give my friend Greg a role in it, and we'll just employ some upcoming wannabe actors and we'll make this film. And it went over budget and it went over its filming allotted time, and everyone thought it was going to be a massive disaster, hence The Disaster Artist. And The Disaster Artist is a film that was made by James and Dave Franco. They play the roles of Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero. And it's based on Greg Sestero's book about his experiences of filming The Room. So that's the kind of premise and the setup. And right at the very end, they've got some scenes from The Room and the scenes that they recreated for The Disaster Artist. And I've got to say, it's absolutely spot on. It's absolutely fabulous film. But what The Disaster Artist does is it takes you through how the two met and how they came to make this film and how their relationship broke down and how it came back together again. And because they're friends again now and they still work together now. And how The Room became this kind of cult success for perhaps all the wrong reasons. Tommy Wiseau wanted it to be a dramatic piece that was all about human emotion and how people betray each other. And some people thought it was autobiographical and other people were just like, he's just nuts. And it kind of became an accidental comedy, and there's drinking games involved in it, and students love to get together and watch it. And it's one of those films that you have to see at least once. Otherwise, what is the point? And The Disaster Artist was a big theatrical release that was basically all about this terrible, terrible film, The Room, which I love so much. And it's my guilty pleasure. And I will even watch it on my own. If my husband's having to work late one evening or something like that, I will even sit at home and watch this on my own. It's one of my favourite things to do. So yes, The Disaster Artist, as long as you watch The Room as well. The two kind of go hand in hand. You can find links to The Room online. I managed to somehow find a DVD copy of it, so I've got a hard copy of it because I never want to lose access to that film. And that's it. And if any of my friends are watching this and you haven't seen The Room and you want to come round and watch it, please come round and watch it. We'll do a viewing party where we watch The Room, and then I'll show you The Disaster Artist so you get all the references. Because I love it that much. It's crazy, and you're not supposed to love terrible films that much, but I do. Anyway, I've taken up enough of your time, and I've got things I need to go downstairs and pretend to do before my husband comes home. So I will see you again on Monday. At that point, I'll take you through some of the TV that I've been watching recently, that I've been streaming. And what else can I say? Stay safe, stay indoors as much as you can, wash your hands, every available opportunity, for 20 seconds. Don't care how you remember what 20 seconds is, just do that. And please stop panic buying. It's really sad to be watching videos of NHS workers, firefighters, police, etc., etc., etc. People that are out there to keep us safe and to look after us at this time, who cannot get stuff in supermarkets because idiots have been panic buying everything. It's utterly ridiculous. I only want to go shopping once a week. I want to go shopping tomorrow morning, and I want there to be goods there. But I'm only going to take what I need, and I have written a list of stuff that I can have for the next week, because I only go shopping once a week. Once a week. That's all you need to do. 1, where are you keeping this stuff? Surely people's houses are full up by now. 2, it's coming up towards the end of the month. Surely you've run out of money and you can't afford to buy anything else. It's nearly payday. And 3, what do you want all this stuff for? I don't understand. Eggs. Rant time, I'm sorry. Eggs. The one big thing I don't understand. They go off really quickly. Stop panic buying eggs. It's bizarre. Really odd. Stop with the toilet roll. It's a virus that affects your chest, not your backside. And just stop. Just stop. Take a step back. Calm down. Watch one of these stupid movies that I've suggested for you. And we'll all be fine. Anyway, that's my rant over. I'm going to go and watch a stupid movie and calm down. Anyway, I'll see you on Monday. And yeah, just take care out there. Look after each other. We're all in this together, and if we all deal with it in a sensible way, we'll get through it. Sayonara.